Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amar's Game Chat. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I am Amar, and today I wanted to talk about my predictions and my thoughts before the upcoming Pokemon Presents on July 22nd, 2025. And so I'm making this video to talk about those topics, just the Pokemon Presents in general. Some of the things I think we're going to see there, some of the things that I don't think we're going to see there, some things I want to see there. And yeah, so it is currently July 19th, 2025. So we are, at the time of recording, around 3 days away from the Presents airing, and Donkey Kong Bonanza has also released. So I'm charging my Switch 2 while recording this video because I was playing Donkey Kong and it is low battery now, so I figured this would also be a great time to record this video. So yeah, I wanted to do some predictions, so I will see you all in just a second. So yeah, predictions for the Pokemon Presents. I am very, very excited for it. There is a lot again that they could show in this Presents, a lot that we already know about in theory, because normally the second Presents of the year, when we get one, because like last year we didn't get one, normally is a focus on stuff that we already know about. So the announcements that they made on Pokemon Day, normally they do a lot of updates for the mobile games. Pokemon Worlds is I think just over a month away, so normally this is what that presents us for. It's normally for updates on things we know about, games that they already announced that will be releasing later this year, games that they announced that we don't know when they're releasing, but could be releasing very, very soon, stuff like that. And I think this Presents will probably follow that format. I do think it'll be longer than the Presents we had earlier this year that revealed Pokemon Legends EA and Pokemon Champions. And that's normally how they are, because normally the major game for the year does take up a significant portion of the second Presents. So that's normally around 10 to 15 minutes. And it's normally just a deep dive into the game. You normally see some new Pokemon, we normally see some new characters, we see story elements, and so I think that's what will likely be here for Legends ZA. But there's also a lot I want to talk about Legends ZA, so I've decided I'm going to split this video into two parts. The first part being the Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champion segment, just because I think we're going to see both of them here. Pokemon Legends ZA, I think, is a guarantee that we see here, but I think Pokemon Champions has a very good chance of showing up here. And they are the two big games that we know about that are releasing for the Pokemon company and the Pokemon franchise. They're announced, the two big games that are announced. And then the second part of this video will be focused mainly on, the other things that we don't know. The mobile games, there's probably a good chance they're going to show up here, but we don't normally know what they're going to show from mobile games. So that includes like Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Unite, stuff to do with the anime, other multimedia projects, stuff like that. So we're going to start off with Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champions, because that is the thing those are the things that I'm the most excited to see in this Presents and the most excited to talk about. And then we're going to end off with just some smaller predictions, maybe a spin-off announcement here or there. So yeah, let's get right into that now. So Pokemon Legends EA and Pokemon Champions, like I said, I think they are going to take up a significant portion of this Presents. But what do I think they will show from those? Mainly from Pokemon Legends EA, I think we will see Mega Evolutions. We're going to see a couple new Mega Evolutions, I feel. The main question I think I'm having going into this Presents, and maybe they'll maybe they'll answer it here, or maybe they won't, we'll have to see, is if we'll get regional exclusive Pokemon in this, in Legends CA. Obviously in Sun and Moon we got Alolan Pokemon. In Generation 8 Galar we got Galarian Pokemon, and then in Generation 9 and Hisui we got obviously regional Pokemon. So we got Hisuian forms, we got new evolutions for Pokemon. We obviously got a new weather trio, making in the weather quartet in the form of Enamorus. And then obviously in Paldea, we got Paldean forms, we got Paradox Pokemon, we got like I don't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but like not the Wooper, the Toad's Cruel, and we got like the other version of it, like Toad's Cruel and Tentacruel and Tentacool and Toad Cool. So I mean, yeah, I think that's Toad's Cool. We got like those forms of Pokemon. And then we obviously, as I mentioned, we got like Paldean form for like Wooper, and then Wooper got a new evolution in Clodsire. So there's a lot that they could show off here, and that has been the pattern since 2016. That like if they are introducing a new region or like a new game, and like it has a new region or a region that we haven't really visited in a long time, so like Sinnoh to Hisui, there's new Pokemon. There is new forms of a Pokemon that we haven't seen before. But I'm kind of feeling that in this case for the Kalos games, or like not the Kalos games, but for Legends EA, I think the focus is going to be on Mega Pokemon. I don't think we're going to see any new Pokemon outside of like the A legendary, like the ZA. So Zygarde is the Z. The A legendary, I don't really know. I mean, I don't think we're going to know that here. I was thinking that could have been Arceus, like Zygarde to Arceus, but and then they connected to Legends Arceus. But I don't think they're gonna do that. I think the A Pokemon is gonna be a new Pokemon that like Zygarde's gonna be battling with, and we have to like help Zygarde, or maybe have to help the A Pokemon battle Zygarde. We have to see about that, but that's besides the point. But I don't think we're gonna see new Pokemon, and I don't think we're gonna see like Kalosian forms for Pokemon. I think it is going to be a heavy emphasis on the new Mega Evolutions, and in that, I think they're going to use there's probably, off the top of my head, there's probably like 50 Mega Evolutions that currently exist. I wouldn't be surprised if they do like 20 new ones for this game. Maybe like 15 to 20 new ones for this game. Just because I think that is gonna be like the main new feature that like helps to introduce like new Pokemon in theory. I think if this was an older game, like if it was Pokemon Legends Arceus, like that took place in the past, we could have seen new Megas and new Pokemon, or like new Pokemon forms for existing Pokemon. But I don't think they're gonna do that now, just because technically this game takes place in the I think in like the theory going on right now is that it takes place like 11 years after Pokemon X and Y takes place. And so it would be kind of weird to go back to this pretty much the same region that we were at in Pokemon X and Y, even though it's like Lumiose, like we're focused only in on Lumiose, and introduce like new Pokemon or new forms. Because then, like, why didn't those exist before? And it's only been like such a short amount of time. Like, why didn't those Pokemon exist before? And obviously, that's a very, maybe like a complex thing. Like, maybe they don't have to even think that far. Maybe they can introduce new Pokemon and just say, it has been 11 years, 15 years, and we figured there could be new Pokemon. But like the Pokemon evolved, they adapted to the Kalos region. But I don't think they're gonna do that, because we haven't really seen that before. I would be really surprised, and I would be really happy if they did that. But I don't think we're gonna see new Pokemon introduced. Like, I don't think we're gonna see new evolutions for existing Pokemon, and I don't think we're gonna see new forms for existing Pokemon. I guess, there obviously is a chance that we could see new Pokemon in theory, but I don't think we're gonna see like evolutions in this case. Obviously, the A Pokemon would be new if it is a Pokemon and it is an Arceus. And then for Legends EA, I was thinking about it earlier. Like, the other question I want to be answered, and we're probably gonna get this answer very quickly in this presents, because I'm assuming they will show off, at least if this is in the game, Pokemon that existed after Kalos released like the X and Y games. For after those released, like with Alola, Galar, and Paldea, will we see any of those Pokemon show up in this game? It'd be weird for them to get Megas, but obviously Megas is like also based on your bond with your Pokemon, so it's very possible we just discover new Megas in this game. But I think that it's really like, I think in Pokemon Legends ZA, I mean Pokemon Legends Arceus, we obviously had Pokemon that we had. I think we had one new Pokemon that existed after Sinnoh, like the Diamond Pearl Platinum games, and that was Sylveon. And then like as like a main capture, you can get that in the game itself, like before post game. And then we also had the weather trio, so we had Thundurus, Landorus, and Tornadus, which in line connected us to getting a new one in Enamorus. And then we also had like Basculin and Rowlet, Braviary, Basculegion, which is the Hisuian evolution for Hisuian Basculin. So we had new Pokemon introduced there from that, like from Pokemon that didn't even exist yet when Diamond and Pearl and Platinum released. So I could see them bringing in like Pokemon from Gen 6, Gen 7, and Gen 8. But I don't know how far they would go into that, because I think they're going to have the main Kalos dex in the game. So the original Pokemon from Kalos, you know, that dex, the Gen 1 through 5 Pokemon that existed in Kalos, I think we're going to have those. So the regional dex. But I don't know how much they would introduce from like Gen 7, Gen 8, Gen 9 into Kalos. I think it'd be cool if some of them got Megas, you know, like we did with Enamorus, you know, the Weather Trio, Enamorus. It'd be cool if, like, I don't know, like, I gotta think of a Pokemon, like one of the Tapus got a Mega. That'd be kind of interesting, kind of cool. But I think that's like my other question. Just going into this, you know, would we see any new like Pokemon from future generations show up here? I'm thinking so. I think this game will have those, but you know, what those would look like, you know, where those would those be in the main game or the post game, is yet to be seen. We don't really even know how HMs work in this game yet. We obviously have seen our phone, so our phone allows us to levitate between buildings. So and in theory we don't really even need HMs because it is only taking place in Lumiose City. So I don't think we would need like surf or like to climb a waterfall, or like maybe we need rock smash. I don't even think we really need fly, because we could take like taxi. We could take the taxis that are in Lumiose around. But the last thing I really want to talk about when it comes like Legends EA and the Megas more specifically is, do I think we're going to see starter Megas here, or do I think we're going to see starter Megas in general? And I was honestly thinking about this for quite a while, just because I think it'd be kind of weird if they gave the new trio starter Megas, so Totodile, Chikorita, and Tepig, if they gave those ones Megas, but they didn't give their counterparts from those regions Megas, and especially like Typhlosion. If they didn't give Typhlosion a Mega, just because then Feraligatr and Meganium both have Megas, and Typhlosion does not. I've been going back and forth on if I think that trio will get Megas, and I don't think they will. I think you will just be able to evolve them to their third stage or their second stage form, basic first stage, second stage, and like that will be it for them. Maybe they get an exclusive moved from this game. Maybe they have like a, obviously like we had Ash Greninja, maybe that's what they do with them. You know, you get a special bonded version of these starters with you that's like not a Mega version, but it is close, like Ash Greninja, like, or AZ's Floette, something like that. But I'm thinking if any starters get Megas in this game, it will be the original Kalos trio, so Greninja, Delphox, and Chestnut. I'm feeling like those three would get Megas. I don't think they're gonna reveal them here. I think at most we're probably gonna see like 2 or 3 Megas in this presents, like whatever trailer they show off here. And those probably be like story specific, like ones that you'll see in the story, so that's why they want to talk about them. I think we're gonna see like the first general area that we're gonna be exploring. Because I think it's still gonna be like sectioned off. Like you can't go to certain areas until you like reach a certain rank on the battling scale or something like that. So we might see like the first mega that like is the alpha Pokemon, or not the Nova Pokemon equivalent in this game, like revealed here. I'm thinking, maybe we get a Mega Wobbuffet. That'd be kind of cool. But I think so. I think the starter trio, like the original Kalos starter trio, we probably wouldn't see those megas until the game releases, and maybe those could be like post game stuff. But I think those three will get starter like mega evolutions, and then the new trio, I don't know if they'll get anything. Again, maybe a new move, but I think it'd be cool for them to also get like their own specific bonds with your character. Like, you know, you probably need like 3 different playthroughs in this case, because I think they're gonna like they could make it to where you can only bond with one of them throughout the entire game, and then maybe like very close to the end of the game they get their specific bond with you and they get their specific design. Their in my case would be like a Mars for alligator, so like something like that, like Ash's Greninja, Mars for alligator. But yeah, besides that, for Legends ZA, I don't think, again, I mentioned I think we're gonna see story content here. It is kind of hard to like specifically predict what story content we'll see, just because this is a new game. There is nothing to really go off of yet when it comes to predicting that. But I think we'll see story and characters here. Maybe we'll see some past characters, maybe a past gym leader show up in the game, in this trailer, I'm not even sure it'll be a trailer. We have gotten trailers before, so I'm expecting it to be a trailer, but at least in the segment, maybe we'll see like a old gym leader show up. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more about what AZ has been doing since the end of the game in his hotel, or since the end of X and Y in his hotel. So I also want to, that was a pretty long thing on Legends CA. I think my talk about Pokemon Champions will not be nearly as long, because for Pokemon Champions, I think that there isn't. I think this would be like the big blowout for it, in theory, just because we obviously know that Terra, Sterilizing, and Megas are in the game. I think they could show off that maybe Z moves and Gigantamaxing are in the game, and like. I was thinking how they would approach Z moves and Mega Evolutions, because in theory you could only have one on your Pokemon. You can't have a Mega Stone and a Z Crystal. Like your Pokemon can only hold one. So I think that'd be kind of cool. It's like you have to choose if you want to have your one specific very powerful move, or if you want to have a Mega Evolution. I'm sure a lot of people will probably choose Mega Evolutions just because I think those are more powerful in the long run. But I think it'd be kind of cool for them to bring over the Z moves, though they would have to animate all the Z moves into the game, and maybe that's a little bit of a hassle. Maybe that's something they could do progressively throughout the release of, like, as they continue to update Pokemon Champions. Speaking of updates, I think they will talk about how they are going to approach like updates for the game, in terms of, will all the Pokemon be there at launch? I think that majority of them will. It's kind of hard to say if all of them will be here, just because I don't really know where they're pulling, like if they're making new models for every single Pokemon, or if they're pulling them from like Pokemon Home, or the work that's already been done for Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Legends Arceus, and obviously like Pokemon Legends CA, if they're like pulling the models from there and they're going to use them in Pokemon Champions, or if they're making like totally new models that looks good on the Switch and Switch 2 and on mobile. So I think we'll get an update plan there. I think we'll get a release date in this Presents for it, or at least a release window, because we don't even have a release window at this point. I think it will probably be either late this year or early next year. I think they're going to want to try to get it out for Pokemon's 30th anniversary. So a little before then, or maybe at that Presents, they'll shadow drop it next year. But I think that is what I expect to see in Pokemon Champions in this presents. I'm not expecting to see too much. It would be cool for them to talk about if it has any single player content. And I guess it would be cool. I'm sure they'll talk about it here. How those without the Pokemon mainline games, so without like Scarlet and Violet, or if you go back to like the DS, like Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, Sun and Moon, X and Y, stuff like that. If you don't have those games, how how are you going to get your Pokemon? And I think that's where single player content can come in, and then maybe they can have like event Pokemon in the game. They could have gift Pokemon. Maybe you go through different battles, and as you progress throughout Champions, you get specific Pokemon that you can add to your team. Maybe they'll have mock teams, or not mock teams, but like teams you can like rent in theory. But I guess they have that like in the battle towers, in and like the different battle facilities in the mainline games where you can like rent a team. Maybe you can rent a team, but I think we'll hear about that here. I think you're gonna be able to move over like Pokemon from like Pokemon Go to your Pokemon Home, and then over to Pokemon Champions, stuff like that. But I think those are the main things we're gonna touch on with Pokemon Champions. Again, as I mentioned, I think it would be cool for them to have like a single player campaign, not something like super long, but something like they had in Battle Revolution, where you can battle the trainers if you weren't gonna battle online, or like it had like it had a little bit of a single player aspect to it. I think that'd be kind of cool for Pokemon Champions. But I think that is it for like that part of this video. Again, I think we're gonna see new megas. I think we're gonna see like new characters, new stories, new story elements, not the whole story for Pokemon Legends ZA. And then I think we're gonna find out like a little more information on Pokemon Champions, updates for it. I think they might say, and this goes into like this is kind of already starting the second part of this video, Pokemon Worlds. I think they will say we might see some more of both of these games of Pokemon Worlds. They might say that there's a playable demo at Pokemon Worlds for not Legends ZA, because we do have confirmation that Pokemon Legends ZA will be playable at Gamescom next month, but I don't think they will confirm. Maybe they'll confirm it will also be playable at Pokemon Worlds in this presents, but at least Pokemon Champions, I could see them either having an on-the-floor demo for the game, or they have like an off-screen demo where you're just watching something happen. Maybe during the opening ceremony, they show a battle happening in it, or like the closing ceremony, something like that. But they might confirm like we're gonna hear information for those two games here at Pokemon Worlds. They'll talk about some of the merchandise that they are showed off Pokemon Worlds, and then maybe they'll confirm that during the closing ceremony we will see other games during Pokemon Worlds, like Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go, Pokemon TCG Pocket, Pokemon the physical version of the Pokemon TCG. And yeah, so that gets us into the mobile games. I think we will see most of them here. I think we'll see Pokemon Masters. I think we'll see maybe some Kalos trainers they could add to Pokemon Masters. I think that'd be kind of cool. Something like that. It's hard to predict what trainers they could add from Pokemon, like from the mainline or like the anime into Pokemon Masters. But I think we'll see a couple Pokemon Masters added. Pokemon Unite, again, it's kind of hard to predict. I'm sure there's maybe some people out there that know what they could add from Pokemon Unite. What they could add to Pokemon Unite, like new Pokemon or a new stage, like a new battle arena, not a new stage, maybe a new mode. I'm sure, again, there's probably someone out there that knows that information already, but I do not. So I think we're gonna see new Pokemon here. I think it'd be cool, again, as a water starter fanatic, for them to add a water starter to the game, like another water starter to the game. It'd be cool. Maybe they'll add Wobbuffet. I keep mentioning Wobbuffet throughout this video. Maybe they'll add Wobbuffet. Maybe they'll add Wobbuffet to Pokemon Cafe Remix, because they obviously. I think that was a pretty cool transition. But they obviously add different Pokemon Cafe Remix. I think we'll see that here. Again, Wobbuffet. And then Pokemon Go, we kind of already know what's happening in Pokemon Go. They are doing a Gmax event. I think they announced the Gmax event right after Go Fest ended. So we will definitely hear maybe about it here, and we'll like see different examples of how it works in the game. But I think that is probably the most we'll see Pokemon Go. Maybe they'll announce that they're adding a couple more Gen 9 Pokemon that you can find in the wild, stuff like that. And then when it comes to, we already talked about Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Cafe Remix, Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Sleep. They could add another island that you could visit after, that you can like unlock in the game. I haven't really done much Pokemon Sleep since it released in 2023, which is kind of sad. I tried getting back into it last year, so I'm probably gonna try getting back into it again if they do show it off here, and maybe this will be the moment. I gotta go find my Pokemon Go Plus, because that's my sleep tracker in terms of the game. But I could see them adding like a new island, and maybe I think it wasn't last year, but in the August 2023 Pokemon Presents, they showed off like Raikou was coming to Pokemon Sleep. I could see that happening again, just in the context of this Presents. Not Raikou specifically, but like they add maybe like Tornadus or like one of the Weather Trio, something like that. Maybe not even legendary, maybe Wobbuffet, but yeah. I think we'll see Pokemon Sleep. And then I think that is it for the mobile games in theory. There probably is a mobile game that I'm missing here. I don't think we're seeing anything for Pokemon Quest, because I don't think we're gonna have updates for Pokemon Quest. It's been many years, but I think that is it for the mobile games. Obviously, I mean, Pokemon Smile could get an update. Maybe they add some new Pokemon to Pokemon Smile, but I don't think they will. But I think for the known mobile games, I think that is it. I could be missing one or two, but I think that's it. So, for non-game stuff, they did announce today that there will be, at least on the Japanese stream, there will be a DJ Pikachu. He'll be DJing before the Presents begins. So I don't know what that means. It could just be like a little pre-party before the Presents begins, but that could also mean something. Maybe they're gonna announce a DJ Pikachu game here, but maybe they're gonna announce a DJ Pikachu short or something like that, like a animated short for the game. For the series. I don't know. But speaking of shorts in the anime, I think I looked into it yesterday because I was thinking about recording this video yesterday, but I looked into it yesterday, and I think Pokemon Horizons is on a hiatus right now. I'm not fully caught up on the series, so I could be wrong, but I think it's on a hiatus. I could probably check Cerebi right now as I'm sitting here, just to see like if they aired a new episode today. Yeah, so I don't think they've aired a new episode. I think in the US, according to Cerebi, they're on episode 78, and then in Japan, the date could be flipped, so the air date for episode 104 could be on April 1st. Let me see if that's a Saturday. That's a Friday, so I think that could work. I could be wrong though. It also could mean that the episode aired on January 8th. I could probably look at that too, see if that matches up with anything. No, I mean, January 8th is a Wednesday, so I don't know. January 8th of this year, so I don't know. I think maybe the anime is gonna start. It's gonna begin again in Japan very soon on August 1st, with episode 104. But I don't know if we'll see anything from that here, just because it is a little interesting, because again, we are in the US, at least we are like 30 episodes behind, so they can't like tease anything, I don't think, for like what's next. Maybe they could do that in the Japan specific Pokemon Presents, but I don't think they normally do like separate announcements in them. So I do not know what we'll see from Pokemon Horizons, if we'll see anything from Pokemon Horizons, but I could see them announcing a new mini series on that, like they upload on YouTube, like they did with Paldean Winds and Twilight. I think maybe I got that mixed up. It's like Twilight Winds. Like they had a couple. They had one for Hisui. They had one for Paldea. They had one for Galar. Stuff like that. They had Pokemon Generate, like the one with like red and everything. So I could see them announcing another one here. Not one that's like extremely long. but like something that's, I think I'm looking at it right now. Um, Let me get them right. So I think no, that's not it. Well, yes. So the Paladin wins, Hisuian Snow, Pokemon Generations. I guess we could see that here too. I mean, like something like that. Though I think they're gonna save something for like Pokemon Generations, like a revisit of those characters for a like next year. Like if they were to do one of those miniseries again, I think they'll save them for like 30th anniversary presents. Um, but yeah, I think we're gonna see another one of those. They're like Path to Peak. I think we're gonna see one of those announced here, or we could see. And then lastly, on that end, I think we are gonna see a new trailer for Pokemon Concierge Season 2. I love Pokemon Concierge. It's a very good series. It's very short. I love the claymation live action part of it, like stop motion. That's very cool. We also do know that they're making like a stop motion series and or like movie with the studio that makes Wallace and Gromit. So I think that's very cool. We could see that here too, but I think that is a ways out. I think that's like 2027. So they might not want to talk about that yet. But I think that is like for the anime and the series. I think that's that. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we get into like once predictions for anything new that could show up here would be Pokemon CTG. The black and white series of black Volt and I think White Flare released yesterday in the US, and I think throughout like most of the world. Obviously I think Japan's a little bit ahead on the TCG side, but that just released, so I don't know if they're going to talk about what's after the generation, what's after the set that's after it. So we already know it's Pokemon Mega Evolution is going to be the set after it. I don't know if they're going to talk about what's next after that here. Again, if they do separate announcements between these presents and like one in Japan, I could see them maybe talking about a new set there, but they also don't really normally do TCG updates here, maybe for that reason, because they would have to do two different segments in the presents. But maybe if there's like a specialty set that they can announce, maybe that's what they talk about here. But I think besides that we probably won't see anything TCG related. Obviously we could probably see maybe like a new set for Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is the one app I was missing, Pokemon TCG Pocket. We could see like a new set, like a specialty set released on the app, but I think besides that we probably won't see much for TCG. I think that is it though. I got through the things that I think we could see, things that I don't think we'll see. Pokemon Worlds again, as I mentioned, but maybe a new movie. I was thinking about it before I forget. I was thinking about it. We could see Detective Pikachu 2 be announced. I'm not thinking that we will. Obviously, Return did release in 2023 for the Pokemon, for the game Pokemon Detective Pikachu Returns. But I think I think there was plans to do Detective Pikachu 2, but it's probably like on the back burner. I don't think it's officially canceled, but they did leave the movie off in such a way that I think they can, like, they don't have to do a sequel if they don't want to. But I'm thinking they probably won't, or if it's not coming out to like 2027, they could wait to announce that during like the Pokemon Presents next year, like the 30th anniversary Pokemon Presents, which is a balancing act between this, like predicting for this and what they're gonna show off then. But we are just talking about it now. Let us get right into the predictions. I don't think we're gonna see any new games here. I would be very happy if they did. If we do see a new game, I don't think we're gonna see something like a Generation 10 announcement or a Black and White remake, even though they just released the Black and White set, Pokemon TCG set. But I don't think we're gonna see those two. We probably see Gen 10 again early next year during the Pokemon Presents in February, and then that comes out in November of next year. And then Generation 5 remakes are probably somewhere in the within Generation 10, maybe like a year or 2 years after Generation 10 releases. But besides that, I think we don't really know. Like, they haven't announced any specific spin-offs for the Switch 2. In 2017, we did have Pokemon Tournament release on Pokemon Tournament DX release on the Switch. So it would be cool if they did have a Switch 2 exclusive spin-off. And the spin-off I immediately go to is a new Pokemon Ranger that you could use like the mouse controls on. Though obviously that'd be a little difficult if you're playing in handheld, but then maybe they could make it, if you're playing in handheld, you can use the touchscreen to capture your Pokemon. But besides that, I'm not really thinking they're going to do a spin-off announcement here. Again, I think that's something they could save for a February 2026 Pokemon Presents, just because I think that is depending on when they're coming out, like when the game's coming out. I don't remember the last time we really got a new retail spin-off in the same year as we got a mainline game. I guess last time that did happen was with Pokemon Tournament DX, but that wasn't even on the same console. Ultra Sun and Moon on the 3DS, and then Pokemon Tournament DX. So it's like weird in that sense because Pokemon Champions, I believe, is going to be only digital. And it would be cool if they released like a companion game for Pokemon Legends ZA, like they did on the 3DS with like the Pokédex 3D and Pokédex 3D Pro and like Dream Radar and like and stuff like that. But I don't think we're gonna see that here. I don't think we're gonna see anything major on that end. Again, I think this is gonna be mainly focused on Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champions and stuff we already know about. I think in that, like, that way, Pokemon Champions is probably the spin-off in essence. It's kind of like a mixture between the main line and spin-offs, but I think that is what we're gonna see next from that type of like spin-off in quotes. Like, I think that is our next spin-off. And then after Pokemon Champions releases, then maybe they'll talk about if they're doing another Switch 2 or like a Switch spin-off, Switch 2 spin-off, something like that. Maybe a remake of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. But I think that is it in that way. I think if they had this Presents last year, like a Pokemon Presents last year, I would have predicted something like a Pokemon X and Y remastered that would release, this year, like last year, in preparation for Legends ZA this year. I don't think they're gonna do something like that, just because it is becoming it's getting very close. I thought maybe that would be pretty cool synergy to have, Pokemon X and Y. You can go through and play that game. You can reach the end of the story with AZ, see how AZ's story ends in that game, and then bring that over to this game, and then maybe you can bring over some of your Pokemon from that game to Legends ZA, and you can act like your character in Legends ZA is the same character that you played as in Pokemon X and Y. But I don't think they're going to do that, just because, again, we are very close now to the release date of Legends ZA. We are less than 3 months away at this point. I believe we were less than 3 months away. Yeah, we're less than 3 months away at this point. So it's not like they could do it after the fact, but I think Legends ZA is the main focus now. I think a remaster would have been cool last year, but I think now we're going back to Lumio City and Kalos. I think the focus should be on Legends ZA. And I don't really know if anybody's really thinking about X and Y remasters. That's just something I thought about. Thought I should mention, just in context of what could be here. If we're gonna end, I guess we can end on my wants for this Pokemon Presents. I do want a new spinoff. I don't necessarily want to see Gen 10 or Generation 5 remakes just yet, again, because I think if they reveal Gen 5 or Generation 10, like if they tease it here, it kind of steps on the toes of Legends ZA a little bit. And Legends ZA is my most anticipated game for the year, so but we've also seen with like the Generation games, they can announce them in February, and that's what they have been doing since Generation 7. and even Generation 6, they announced that one in January and it released in October. They're announcing the mainline generation games in February on Pokemon Day, and normally they release at the end of the year in November. So I imagine they're going to keep that schedule. Maybe they will move the marketing up a little bit. So instead of getting a trailer in June like we normally do for the generation games, maybe we get that in May, and then maybe they can do a continuous thing. Maybe we get 3 Pokemon Presents next year or something like that. But that is all I really have. You know, when it comes to my wants, again, I want a new spin-off. I think it'd be cool to see a new Pokemon Conquest or a remake of Pokemon Conquest from like the DS to the Switch. I would love to see a new Pokemon Rumble. I don't think they'll ever do another Pokemon Rumble, but I would love to see a new Pokemon Rumble. And then, you know, a new Pokken tournament could be in the works. You know, stuff like that. But again, I think this will be I think where they're mainly going to focus on Pokemon Legends EA and Pokemon Champions and like Pokemon Worlds and the mobile games here. And then anything they have, like that's a huge announcement that they probably will do alongside the Generation 10 announcement early next year, or they'll do in like another Pokemon Presents later next year. And then that game could release after Generation 10 releases. But as I mentioned earlier, that is it. That is all I have for you all today. This is a kind of long predictions video, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on the Presents before it airs in just a couple days. I will be doing a reaction to the Presents. I will maybe do a live stream reaction to the Pokemon Presents, depending on if I can get that to work. But I will at least have a reaction for it once it airs. And then, yeah, you know, I guess the last thing I could talk about is maybe we see some updates, like updates for the like Pokemon Legends Arceus announced here, Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Nintendo Switch 2, like upgrade patches. Not like the free ones, not the $10 or $20 upgrade packs, but just a free one like they do with Scarlet and Violet. I think like we could see them here, but also again we are very focused on Legends EA now, so Scarlet and Violet obviously made sense to get the patches, and I think it made it really, really fun. You know, made it a lot more fun to revisit. Those are I think in my opinion, those are my favorite Pokemon games now, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think they have eclipsed the Generation 5 games for me. But yeah, that is a discussion for another day. I hope you all enjoyed this prediction video. If you do have your own predictions, please leave them down in the comments below. But without further ado, I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all do what makes you happy, because it rhymes with my previous name, Generic Cappy, and I will see you in the next one. So have a great day again. I hope you all have a great Pokemon Presents Day on Tuesday, and I will see you then. So yeah, Pokemon Presents is very, 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 very close.